韓國男爵積具主持特約共聚會又翻嚟啦，咁我哋今集咧都係有神秘視像嘅，係啦，
又係 live 㗎係嘛？
係啊，開始有啲酒友會發現咗，我哋又唔會
咁快又發現咗，唔係嘛？
唔係，我開始有啲酒友會發現，我哋久唔久咧有啲失驚無神嘅當我哋覺得有好值得去做視像嘅嘉賓咧咁我哋就會一定會拍低佢。
同埋我哋係做視像嗰集咧，其實係坐得密咗嘅，因為我哋用咗細房嘅。
係啦係啦，
因為大房做視像有個問題咧，就係後面太多咯垃圾嘢。
試過，我哋都試過嘅，但係唔係咁理想咁樣好啲咁樣。咁但係咧就嘉賓都可以隨意嘅，因為我哋都純粹係影低一個輔助嘅啫咁所以唔使太理個鏡頭㗎啦咁樣。今日咧呢個嘉賓就係啦，即係前主持，係啦，前主持咁咧就榮譽主持係啦，咁咧即係通常譬如 Chris Anthony 嗰啲咧，我哋即係佢
嗰啲唔係大人物嚟，
我哋都會叫佢主持嘅。咁但係呢位係點解前主持咧？因為即係好榮幸啦。其實就陣間我哋會用英文，可以用廣東話講幾句先啦，可以係啦。咁咧就係因為 Andy 風啦，安迪風啦，就我哋好早期咧幫我哋手嗰時一位女主持啦。咁但係咧好快佢就好似一陣風咁瀟灑咧，
又去咗美國，
就喺呢個酒嘅世界就周圍咁飄揚，咁啊好不容易咧又飄翻嚟幫手，
一個人飄去啫，
兩個飄
係啦，成功我呢個
係啦，咁啊介紹下啦，都唔記得咗係，即係有啲聽眾聽聲音聽聲音嘅，咁啊 Holton 會長喺度嘅，咁啊 Kevin 都喺度嘅，咁啊點解又請到翻呢位前主持嘉賓今日嘅嘉賓上嚟咧？Kevin 揾定係會長揾㗎？
會長揾嘅，
會長揾，係會長。
你講下會長，
係你講兩句啦。
好榮幸嘅，因為呢位嘉賓其實都翻咗嚟香港年幾㗎啦，
幾兩年啦，咁快。
咁一向佢又好忙佢自己嘅事業啦，一直都好想請佢上翻嚟嘅。
係，集都
上翻嚟做翻主持啦，
永遠保留呢個位啊。
因為咧，佢而家咧忙咩咧？咁啊，佢係喺一間餐廳度啦。咁啊，呢間餐廳好特別嘅，係其實一個 wine cellar 再加埋一個餐廳。咁咧呢個 wine cellar 咧就可以大家可以租地方擺酒。咁你擺嗰啲酒喺度咧，就可以喺嗰間餐廳度食嘢，就攞翻嗰啲酒嚟自己飲嘅，你自己酒嚟嘅嚇。呢個地方叫 Hip Cellar 係啦。咁啊餐廳叫 Another Place 啦。咁就喺一個工業大廈，係咪喺天后嗰個大廈嗰度啊？係啦，我都食過幾次，幾好食。
即係海景工業大廈啦。
係啦，咁啊同埋最緊要係可以自己 BYOB 帶走嘅。
嗰個位係咪真係
好重要嗰樣嘢？
近
海景嘅全海景嘅。
其實近去到天后嗰中間個位啊嘛。
有幾間工業大廈對住個海嘅，自己揾啦。
係地鐵嚟講，天后站同炮台山站中間兩個站去都行去好方便。
咁同埋我哋好 recommend 佢，因為佢係可以 BYOB。自己帶走唔使開瓶費嘅，
呢個好嘅，非常之好嘅態度。
係啦，咁佢仲有個私人嘅，好似會所嘅 area 啦，你喺度擺酒喺度咧，咁你就可以自己喺度飲，自己喺度嘆翻自己酒嘅，就好靚個地方，有全海景嘅。
係啦，全海景最緊要。
係啦。咁啊，佢除咗呢樣嘢之後咧，咁啊，仲有喺一間叫做MWM 嘅
Wine School。
咁呢個 Wine School 咧就係我哋嘅好友。Deborah Myber 開嘅，係啦，咁喺度教書啦，而家
教 WSET，
一邊教一邊自己學習啦。喺呢個教過程中，其實自己得着得好多嘅，喺啲學生身上面都學到好多嘢㗎。
哦，係咩？係。
葡萄酒呢樣嘢就係咁咯，終身學習啊！
我以為啲學生係勁過你咧，可以教到你，嚇死我！
不嬲都係互相分享、互相學習嘅。
咁有啲可能耐啲日子嘅聽眾咧，其實都知道 Andy 風嘅，因為以前你都做我哋常駐主持，但係見真人咧，可能大家第一次。
係喎，真係喎，
所以記住 Andy
終於都
高又好靚女嘅，
係啊。
咁啊，仲要介紹埋佢身邊嘅亦都係非常之重要嘅佢嘅另一半嘉賓啦，係啦，咁就係Master Sommelier MS 嘅 Darius Allen。
welcome
Darius.
So we've been talking about Auntie's work and also what she's been doing all these years and then we want to talk about her
my better half for sure.
Yes.
Your better half as well, yeah. So
it's pretty easy to see why it's better.
So you've been in Hong Kong for 2 years already, right?
Yeah, 2 years.
And she is the only reason why you came.
Yeah, the only reason.
Wow.
Are you being honest?
Before have some wine, yes.
I'm gonna ask you again after you have a couple of glasses.
Yes.
So before coming to Hong Kong, where were you?
Last place was the United States.
Right, because you're American, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where in the States?
The last place I was living was Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
But I've been between Las Vegas and Los Angeles for most of the last 15 years prior.
Right. So you also work in LA.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because LA to me it's a place with well, how do you say? I find it very hard to find a place to drink wine because everywhere you go, you gotta drive, and after drinking, you cannot drive. And how can you get home without driving? I have no idea. That's a problem in LA.
Yeah.
Because you cannot live without a car, right?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously Uber and other things have been pretty big, and Lyft and some of those companies. But yeah, that has always been kind of an issue because things are quite spread out in Los Angeles. But the downtown sector has really grown a lot in the last decade.
Nowadays, it's gone a lot better. But when I was there, it was pretty scary.
Yeah. It's only been about the last 10 years where it started to really kind of evolve and grow towards kind of a dining scene.
And you can actually walk after dark in downtown.
Yeah.
In the past, you would not imagine walking in downtown.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better.
Right, because you will get robbed. They will kill you in the past.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or you say you will get mugged.
Worse.
That's the American word.
You will get murdered. Because I used to live in LA for I lived in LA for 3 years, but I lived in Westwood, so it was a better area.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, but I used to have I used to have that fear of going to downtown every time. I had to go there because my USC friends were there, and then we'll just try go to some safer places in downtown.
Skip Compton, and all the rest.
J-Town, whatever. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, let's talk about wine. So, at first, how did you get into the wine business in the first place?
Really by accident. So it's to keep a very long story as short as possible. Going to University of Washington in the Seattle area where I'm from.
UW.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the early years, just out of high school, I was working in restaurants. So I had to know a little bit about some wines to sell by the glass, things like that, etc. So I learned some basics, but didn't know very much. And out of the blue, a friend of mine's uncle had worked for luxury train travel, Orient Express.
Travel? Wow.
Orient Express,
wow.
in Europe. And so he was starting his own company, and this is back in 1990, to do something similar. And long story short, he wanted young American people that could serve because his target clientele was Americans from like Stanford Alumni Group and Museum of Natural Art History, New York, and things like this. So very high-end luxury, traveling Eastern Bloc countries in Europe on a specific train. But again, to get back to the point, he wanted young Americans because they could communicate in English.
Right.
That had some service experience. And so I happened to be recruited that way. And so I spent the greater part of 4 years traveling in Europe and working on this train. And so since I was the one who had the most wine understanding, quote unquote, which wasn't very much, I was kind of the one that put in charge of the dining car and also the liaison kind of purchaser of the wines for each kind of route we were going to. So if we're going to Hungary, for instance, then
find some Hungarian wine.
Yeah, I would get to the train station. The guests would get off on their special tour, and then I would jump out the other side and meet with some individual from that area, from that market, and they would take me to a market, and I would say, I'm looking for this wine called Bull's Blood. I don't know what it is, but so you just have some basic ideas. So I just had some books and read, and then through traveling, just harvested some grapes here and there from the early 1990s vintages, and that's kind of what got me started. So.
Oh wow! But back then it must have been very different.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Because it was just after the fall of communism and
it was. As a matter of fact, the train was based in Berlin, in the east part of Berlin. So literally, we're traveling less than 1 year after the wall went down.
Right.
From the west side of Berlin to the east side of Berlin, just to get the train prepared, and out of that particular train station, or Bahnhof as they call it. So so it was a very interesting time. Then to travel to places like Romania, where we got held up at the border time and time again, or Bulgaria, places like this. Very very interesting.
Where does it end? I mean, from Berlin to
Each
Istanbul?
trip was a little different, but yeah, pretty much to Istanbul. Yeah, yeah, that was the one we did the most, Berlin to Istanbul, and then sometimes we
It's
do
a classic route, actually.
But it's not Oriental Express, right? Not the same route.
It's a revival of that idea. Right?
It was under his company name, which was TCS Expeditions. Gentleman was named T.C. Swartz. Now it's re-evolved into a luxury private travel company.
And you got the chance to get to get these to get to know these very strange wines, right? Because
Yeah,
back
absolutely.
then, I'm sure they were not as famous as what they are now. Because
Yeah.
now people sort of know about them. Boost Blood, whatever. But back then, because of communism, for so many years they were not promoted in the West, so people
Yeah.
would not know anything about them.
Yeah, it was a very different time. And,
Right. And the
so-
quality, I think, was very different as well, right?
Yeah, quality was definitely different too. But
Nowadays, they've gotten a lot better.
yeah, I think in general. But then you would also find some really good wines that would just have a significant kind of identity, that weren't as maybe modern made in production. So the style and the identity was a little bit different then too.
All right.
Yeah, really reflective of that time frame. So
And now they became more international, I guess.
they've basically a lot of influx of capital and so on, and changing the vineyards, modernizing things like that.
Yeah.
So the wines are a little cleaner.
Much cleaner.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less identity in some sense, but still very good.
Right.
But I think even today, not many people really know Eastern
Oh,
European
in
wines.
Europe, yes. But
Maybe
outside
Hungary,
Europe,
but
Yeah.
it gets a bit difficult. Yeah.
But these days we have the luxury of the internet, so if you really do want to go and know about these wines, it's possible. But imagine
it.
back in 1990,
Yeah, that's
it's-
pre-internet.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people get to learn about these things without,
It's a couple
getting to those
books.
places, right?
Couple books, so.
Such a different era.
But yeah, to me, that's one of the reasons why I still have an affinity for the actual journalists of that time, because reading their books and getting to know them through their words and getting to know them through just the way that they would write about their experiences or the way that they would taste wine. It was just a different time, different era. So not to say that today is not as good or better. It's just different. Just different.
Yeah, and that explains why sometimes during our travels and we'll go to some old bookshops and I'm constantly looking for like the latest versions just to get all the wine laws right.
And he wants the
And there
oldest
is will be
version.
like, oh
The
hey,
first
this
edition.
is the first version, first edition of Hugh Johnson or something.
Yeah.
But
Like,
first editions are
okay.
very expensive. They're very expensive. They command a huge
Yeah.
price. And in
Very
the States,
true.
there are some
But
bookstores
that also
selling
In the
means
States,
that-
you
But
find
it's actually
used
quite
bookstores.
interesting.
Like
You
Seattle,
can
where I'm from,
compare
used to
them.
find them all the time,
Yeah.
and there's all sorts
Yeah.
of used bookstores there at the time, and so you'd always find great versions of old books. So it's great.
Yeah.
But for the MW student, that means those books are the most outdated
They're
textbook
obsolete.
for them.
Yeah.
Obsolete.
All the
it's
laws
also-
are-
Obsolete information.
But
Come on.
they are, but
But there's some really, really
yeah.
there's in
There's
terms
some
of the
insights,
stories
I think.
and where things originated and some of the fundamental information, the history.
Yeah.
You can't beat some of those old books.
Right. So
That's
you
for
will
sure.
enjoy more if you don't have to take exam.
Well, very much. I'm trying to strike a better balance these days because
Okay,
I mean,
that's
wine. I mean, the exam is supposed to be something that propel. It should be something that motivates me to learn more instead of, well, I'm kind of like biting my own tongue in a way. But yes, there is a certain amount of techniques, tactics that you do need to put into in order to excel in an exam. If not excel, just to kind of at least trying to do well.
Or get a pass.
Yeah. Do well enough.
Well.
But at the same time, I'm trying to to remind myself I do all these not because I simply want to pass an exam or test.
But I'm sure you will do very well. You are
I
such a hard-working person.
Hope. I'm not sure. Ask Darius. He pretty much knows what I do every night. Just playing with my dog, just kind of, loitering around.
Yeah. So you keep reading the book and let your dog take charge of the tasting exercise, right?
Oh yes, we're trying actually. Sometimes.
Yeah, yes, tasted wine.
It's a good wine, left your right leg. So it's a very good wine, lift your left leg.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he will actually hit some instant fame. Go viral, compared to any wine celebrities in the world if we manage to train him up to do that.
So let's talk about how you guys met. You guys met in Las Vegas, right? When you were in Las Vegas. Because you went to Las Vegas after doing the show, you went to Las Vegas.
No, I didn't hit jackpot in Las Vegas. I hit jackpot starting from Hong Kong, actually.
Oh, okay. I see.
I didn't realize
Hong
that.
Kong.
I mean,
okay.
Ireland, but yeah, it was it's a cliche story. Basically, I was trying to, I was thinking about going for my advanced sommelier exam, and it so happened that Darius was here to basically hold a workshop to give people some insights.
Right. Okay.
And right after he gave that workshop, I was like, oh, you know what? It's going to take me years to study. Well, I'm going to need way more time than that. And very conveniently, I thought, you know what? If I can actually get some exposure in, say, better structured, more mature market, that might help.
Right.
Naturally, I went.
You thought of the
we
States.
just
You thought of
talked
the
about
States.
it. That the state would be a great, place to start with if I managed to get myself over there. And thanks to a lot of good friends, and I still really remember, and thanks to the fact that I really just stick to my plan, try to find the right sponsor. I've got rejected by 6 sponsor companies, actually. Because
Wow.
in the States, you need to apply through a sponsor.
For the visa.
For a visa.
Right.
And only after that, you can reach out to companies who might like to hire you. But obviously, having companies who are showing some interest to hire you would help a little bit. It helps, but it doesn't guarantee anything. So, yeah, reached out to 7, got rejected by 6, but I said, you know what, I'll just stick to my plan, try. I still find one more, and that one company, that one sponsor helps me through, get my visa.
Okay.
And,
what kind of place is that? Wine shops or
A
restaurants?
sponsor is basically like I think they are partial government organizations that are tasked by the government, the U.S. government, to kind of process all these cases.
All right.
It's like,
Okay.
you want to study in the States, you have to apply for a certain visa. For me, I'm there for training, so I need to apply for this visa called J1.
Okay.
So the company who's planning to take you over there doesn't have to
Hire
process
you.
that.
Or they don't-
They're
they'll need
not
to
the
hire
one
you.
who are
Okay.
responsible for processing
Right,
that.
right.
Actually, you as an applicant are the person who need to sort it out. You get all of a sponsor, then you can actually go and approach your company and say that, hey, I've got a sponsor for my visa. You can now go ahead to confirm that you want to take me in for a year of training. So it's a little complicated, but at the same time, I think it's worthwhile. I've managed to get it, and my year in Las Vegas is definitely
Excellent. Now
fruitful.
my question is, how did the U.S. Immigration Department that usually they will question because
Yeah.
we have a lot of local U.S.
Right.
people who can do such and such.
Well,
And why
I think
they
the-
need
yeah.
a,
The
they
point
want
is
to hire
they
foreigner?
have a high tendency to reject all women of around 30 years old.
Yeah, and I was single by then.
And
I was
they
single,
have a
but-
tendency
Yeah,
to
that's
reject the
another
applicants.
reason,
Yeah.
They're surprised why. I mean, just disregard
Yeah,
the sex
I
first.
know,
Just
I
for the
know.
job nature. I mean, why
Yes.
suddenly they will think they will give a visa for foreigner to come?
I
think
must
under
admit
the
I'm
current president, it will be much harder. now.
really quite lucky, and Trump wasn't there by then. you
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I didn't try to apply to Trump Winery, so
I went to Trump Winery, you know that? I went there. Actually, the wines are not too bad. It's just the guy, that's the problem, right? I have no problem with the wines.
so
Right.
that should be a good one for blind tasting then, right? Just don't think about what wines you're having.
Yeah,
Blind
you,
taste.
well, you will not recognize it. Trust me. They're actually very, competently made. Unlike the guy.
Well, anyway, you got in anyway. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
a twist
yeah.
of a
And,
twist of
and I had a
life.
great year in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. It's quite an amazing place. I mean, we talked about having 3 master of wines here. We have 2 master sommelier, and over in Las Vegas, just on this one long street, you have
Block.
how many master sommeliers were there? Maybe
It fluctuated, but
dozen?
for many years it was
Somewhere?
the
On
highest
average?
density
Yes.
of
More
MSs
than
in the
10
world.
or
Yeah.
20 or
But there was over 20.
there
There's like
are
22 at
a
one
lot of
point, I
study
think.
groups there, and the study groups are people who are trying to go for master sommeliers. I was
Wow.
surrounded by people who are really way more experienced and way more advanced in terms of their level of study than myself.
I guess in that case the AS are everywhere.
Yes.
Advanced or maybe.
In Hong Kong we have study groups, geared towards attempting, AS exam. Over there, people have study groups attempting, geared towards attempting MS
Right.
examinations, and that's quite an eye opener.
So, but how do you find Darius? Las Vegas is a big town. Do you
Oh.
have his address? Or you just have
Well,
his picture?
you really want to know
ask
that?
every pedestrian, you know this guy, something like that.
Google
I
Google
knew
Map
him.
Google Map there is
Yeah, I actually put a GPS dot on him.
Okay.
As a tracker.
So there must be some romantic story. How do you meet in which street, okay, or which casino? In the
We haven't
city?
even had a glass of wine yet, and you're asking me that question. So
Okay, get some wine. Time to have some wine.
But my impression with Las Vegas is that along the strip, they're all selling the same shit, same wine, right? In the restaurants, they sell something different. But along that strip, they have a lot of stores and stuff. They all sell Chateau
those
Saint
stores.
Michel
Yeah.
and those things that are not very exciting. Hardly something exciting. But in the bars, when you go to some bars, they do have some very, very decent things. But and I remember there were like 2 stores, mega, very big stores. I don't remember the name actually, but you can find basically wine from everywhere, from all over the world. I was stunned. What was the name of that store? I don't
Total
remember.
Wine. and
Total
Southern
Wine.
Southern Wine
Total
Spirits,
Wine.
yeah.
They have a bigger store and a smaller one. I
Yeah,
went to both
they're,
actually.
They're in other regions as well. They're just like Southern Wine and Spirits, and what's it? Lee's Wine Stops as well, and there's a few others. But yeah, they're just larger conglomerates. But retail is not a big.
That's the thing.
That's not. Think about it this way: Las Vegas is a destination, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of tourism. It's drawn off of tourism. Even though you have 2 million plus people in Las Vegas, it's driven. The economy's driven off of tourism. So where are the tourists going to go? Are they going to go to a retail wine shop? Or are they going to go to a restaurant and a wine bar? And so
Right.
that's where you find the more interesting wines. And you know, it was different. It's also changed a lot since the economy fell in 2009. The wine sector has changed a lot and evolved differently. Before, in the kind of the, you know, I went there in '99 and opened
Right.
up Oriel Restaurant in Mandalay Bay, and
Mandalay Bay. So that's where the shooting happened.
yeah. So kind of crazy, come full circle. But but Oriel at the time, and some of the other programs in town, the Bellagio and so on, there were 4,000 plus wines on the list of high quality producers.
Right.
So Grand Award quality lists. So but those very large over the top programs started to fade a little bit away, because that was kind of the growing watermark before the high watermark, because at that time Vegas was diversifying in terms of entertainment and high quality chef dining destinations, internationally recognized. So they were investing a lot of capital, and there were a couple major companies, and they were competing against each other to try to outbid each other. So each one is trying to up the ante, and that's why you had these very big programs and up till the mid 2000s.
Right.
And then it changed again a little bit after the economy
Because
fell.
before that, Las Vegas was only basically a gambling destination.
For a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they went through different marketing strategies. They went for, right before I got there, they were trailing one of their family, it's a family destination, getaway. And that didn't work out very well for obvious reasons. then they changed, and then they started with Vegas, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, and all these other marketing themes and ideas. But yeah, so it's kind of, after the economy fell in 2009, what you saw is a little bit less higher end gamblers and
Right.
so on, and they're making it up in more volume. So more.
Right. So they need more. They need the revenue from F&B. In the past, they didn't
Yeah.
need the F&B.
Yeah,
revenue,
for a long
right?
time, up until the early mid 2000s, there was hardly any restaurants that were actually profitable. The casinos would subsidize them.
Right.
So
That's what's happening in Macau.
yeah,
For example.
sure, because the strategy is just to get people in there to gamble. So whatever kind of means of entertainment, other kind of amenities you can offer, you're going to try to attract them that way. So it was just a different time. But now they just try to make it up in volume, because it's kind of almost saturated
Right.
in Vegas to some degree. Macau is probably getting that way. I haven't.
In terms of wine selection, so do you see a big difference before and after?
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit, yeah.
So they're shifting from some really high-end, expensive, unsaleable wines to some lower-end saleable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with
Like
what?
a lot of places in the world, but Vegas
Right.
in particular, too. Yeah, because the expenditure is not as high as
Uh-huh.
it used to be. Back in that time, the economy was stronger in the States in particular, then you would have more business expense accounts and so on, and people going to Vegas for conventions and trying to impress clients, so they're buying high-end wine. But, it's changed since then. So now you see a little bit more, kind of half that overall expenditure in the
So
fine
about
wine.
how much do they spend on wine per person?
Well, it's been a few years since I've been back, but before you would see well over an average depending on the restaurant, of course, and so on. But American dollars over $100, $120, $125 average a bottle.
Right.
And then, of course, you'd have some crazy nights where you'd sell something very old, and you'd have record nights that way, a couple $100,000 in wine in a restaurant. So, but the standard was that, and now it's right about probably 60, 65.
But the one trend I noticed is that they do now offer really good options for by the glass wines. In the past, they used they used to offer house wine by the glass, and that's about it. And the more expensive wines, you gotta buy them by the bottle. But now, very good wines, you can buy them by the glass.
Yeah, there was always pockets. I mean, even the time I was there was a handful of restaurants that were doing really cool, interesting wines by the glass. But for the most part, you're right. It was just more standard. It had the market had to evolve a little bit, and then of course the buyers needed to kind of grow into.
And I think it's the invention of Coravin or those what's the name of
Aromatic
the machine?
machine.
Yeah, aromatic
Machines,
machine. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Is a wine sales closely related to the stock market? If so, today this year should
You
not
pay
that
enough
bad.
attention to
In New
stock
York,
market,
maybe,
my dear.
Yes and no, in some degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this year the stock market is very good, U.S.
Yeah.
market,
Yeah.
but it's not reflect on the wine sale.
Yeah, but it's yes and no.
Okay.
Because it's not necessarily the same clientele.
I see.
Yeah.
So, do we want to try some wine now?
Okay, yeah, why not? Let's go for a wine. Okay, we have a bottle that's brought here by Andy. That's a bottle of Martinborough Vineyard from Martinborough, New Zealand. Okay, it's a Pinot Noir. So.
Yeah. Actually, these two bottles is quite funny. It just, I was telling Darius, I said, "Oh, we will have to bring two wines." So, since we are going as a couple, so why don't you pick one and I will pick one that I like. So we kind of like go separately and independently to choose what we like. It so happened that it's kind of like a new old world.
So
But,
you
but
chose this
end
one,
of the,
right?
I was the one choosing the Arena.
Okay, the other one,
gosh,
okay.
I'm a big fan of organic dirt these days. Actually, for about almost a year now.
Okay.
And but the Martinborough Vineyard, it comes with a little bit of a romantic story. It almost became the red wines of our wedding, right? Almost. Until I wrestled that option out of his hand and just say that I want to do a Liechtenstein Merlot instead. But anyway, that was one very decent
Oh, the
winery.
Liechtenstein Merlot,
Yes.
the Austrian one.
Yes, the Amberella. the single vineyard
I
ones.
tried. I think I tried it at your place.
Yeah, and
At,
now the greatest
right.
selling point for me with my clients is that
That's
trust
a
me,
wedding
it's
wine.
a good one. It's actually so good. It's my wedding wine. A little bit of that personal touch. I mean, it has nothing to do with who I am. It's the fact that it's a pure sharing of what I think is a quality wine, and it's one of the things that I like to do in a restaurant sometimes. It's a personal story. It's not that I have a big ego. It's just that that in itself could be a it's an exchange of trust.
Look, who is selling the Liechtenstein wine in Hong Kong?
Oh, that's
Roland?
Schmidt, the German
okay,
specialist.
Schmidt.
Yeah.
Well, it's not exactly Liechtenstein wine. It's
It
the.
is
I think it's from the
Austria, yeah.
royal family of Liechtenstein, but made in
Yes.
Austria.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So can
Wine beer too.
you tell us a little bit more about this Martinborough Vineyard wine, 2012 Pinot Noir?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is from the North Island, of course, and in the southern part in an area called Wairarapa. And
Right.
Martinborough is the name of a little town. There's only a couple thousand people there. It's about an hour, a little over an hour drive from Wellington.
Yeah.
So it's basically in rain shadow area that's kind of protecting it, the Martinborough Hills and the Tuarua forest kind of to the north. But it's this is the original planter of Pinot Noir in New Zealand and in Martinborough. So in 1980. And this is what we're tasting today is from their home block. So this is from some of the original vines that were planted back in 1980. So, it's interesting because you were saying earlier, Kevin, that like New Zealand Pinot Noir can be different in style. And I think so, absolutely. I agree that like the Otago styles are kind of one version. Even the lower elevation Otago base is one style, and then kind of the upper terraces and the hillsides is a little different. And then, of course, like people know Marlborough, of course, a lot, but more famous for Sauvignon Blanc. They do their own version of Pinot.
Yeah.
But just in between there in Christchurch, you've got some things in Waipara that are quite good.
And I think Pinot Noir. Well, it will reflect terroir a little bit better because Sauvignon Blanc, I find it a little bit too monotone. I mean, they're very similar everywhere they grow.
Well,
maybe it's because they use the same yeast, so they all taste very similar.
Well, a lot of them are. You have to think about it this way too. In Marlborough, so like New Zealand and Australia are similar in that a lot of larger companies own 70+% of the production, and so in that they're looking for more machine-driven landscape. So where it's a little bit lower, flatter lying, and they get the machines in there and do the harvest and so on. Not to say it's a bad thing, but you make a more homogeneous style there.
Yeah.
Now, on the hillsides around Wairau River and the upper elevations and so on, some of the terraces, you'll get a little bit more distinct kind of, different kind of mineral flavor and some different profile. But you don't see those as much because they're lesser-known names. Similarly, Martinborough is kind of enclosed in such a small grape-growing area that these are just small family, small production-based wineries. Same with Martinborough. It's a doctor that basically, when the New Zealand study came out of trying to explore what's kind of a Burgundian kind of environment in New Zealand in the 70s, they picked this area as being a really good site because it has a little rain shadow and its exposure to those cold Arctic influences. Because you have basically the Cook Strait that separates the two islands and then you have the cold Arctic influence, the cold weather blowing inward. So just protected enough and very porous soils, a lot of gravel and a lot of alluvial kind of fan and terraces that have clay and other things, but definitely have some well-drained soils and gravels and limestone. So you should depict a little bit of mineral to it, a little salinity. But anyway, it's an interesting wine. It's, a guy named Larry McKenna that started growing the grapes back in that time, and has since moved on to some other winery since then. But the style will have a little bit more of a salinity and a little bit more pH. And the funny thing is, there's if you're familiar with Otarangi and Te Karanga and some of these other states from Martinborough that around the same time in the earlier 1980s got established, a Bell clone, also known as the Gumboot clone, which is a story from the 1970s. They say that it was folklore says it was one of the All Blacks players, one of the rugby players that smuggled in a vine from DRC in Burgundy.
Yeah.
And one of the Samsonite clones again.
Yeah.
Smuggled through.
But he got caught. He got caught when he brought it in, and so the guy named Malcolm Abel was
the
an
security
immigration
officer.
He actually took the vine and then
Get it
By
properly.
himself.
Yeah.
and then gave it back to Otarangi and Martinborough and some others. So there's a few other clones like 115, 116, and some of the other clones of Pinot, but.
Our listeners might not know, it is actually very hard to smuggle stuff into New Zealand because they have ferocious control over any viticultural or agricultural stuffs that are imported in. So
呢啲就冇譯幾翻譯少少啊？
Okay,
少少
okay.
陣間
Yeah, they strongly protect.
yeah, I got a friend who nearly went to prison just because he had an apple in his backpack.
Yeah.
An apple, right?
Yeah.
So he was fined. I don't know how much already. A few $1,000.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
New Zealand learned a lesson from Australia with invasive species and things like that, and so they're really, really strict. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let us talk about a little bit about the wine in Cantonese, right? You guys want to do in Cantonese?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, about the wine.
啲酒你會長你攞嚟先，咁呢隻係2012年嘅 Martinborough 嘅 Vineyard 啦。咁啊 Derek 頭先話喺呢個因為其實佢會係因為其實一般嘅大公司好多時都可能會揾啲平啲地方做嘅，但係呢間莊係啲細啲嘅，細啲嗰啲唔係大公司擁有嗰啲莊咧，就可能會山邊啊嗰啲。點解咧？因為喺個平面嗰度咧，好多時。因為紐西蘭有個好大問題咧，你係揾唔到 labour， 揾唔到人工嘅，揾唔到人做嘢嘅。因為你去過就知道冇人嘅地方。
羊嘅多，
係啦，羊啊多。咁啊，所以佢哋好多時要揾機去 採摘。但係呢啲咧喺山邊咧，因為機器 operate 唔到啊，咁咧就全部揾人手採摘，咁啊成本就係相對貴好多。但係問題咗咧，其實呢啲山邊嗰啲個 character 可能會明顯啲，即係嗰啲mineral 啊嗰啲會明顯啲。所以譬如話呢一支咧，我嘅感覺就係佢個 character 比較重啲嘅，對比一般嘅紐西蘭嘅偏島，佢即係個 salinity 嗰個鹹度啊，嗰個酸度控制得好啦，係啦。咁啊，所以我覺得我頭先一開始就話，哇！喺呢支係有 character 嘅紐西蘭偏島嚟㗎，因為我好多時接觸都係啲個 character 唔係好明顯，好多時好 homogeneous 好全部差唔多嘅感覺嘅。阿會長你點諗啊？
我都覺得係呢支唔係好 typical 啲 Martin Burrow， 即係我哋如果飲開大路嗰啲咧。
如果 blind taste
我都覺得佢個玻璃比較實啲，即係佢都提過有啲嘢，你可能會諗起係 Central Otago 嗰邊咁樣。
同埋你睇個色咧，佢好似有個 filtration。冇乜做，佢唔係做咁多 filtration， 佢好似可能 unfiltered 嚟嘅，好我唔知我杯，it's unfiltered, right?
Yeah, they're very supernatural. I mean, a lot of Pinot Noir wineries are in their own kind of sustainability initiative they've had for the last decade or so, but they're like really highly organic, just like a lot of Martin Burrow vineyards.
But you know the big brands, those that we can easily get hold of, those big brands, they all want very clear wine. They're all
squeaky clean,
highly filtrated, and they're all the same style. But I love the character of this wine.
It has a lot of character, and there's a lot of texture now starting to come out. It's got a little bit of that.
But in an exam, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Would you think it would be an old world style, or would you think
it is.
Not
New world,
extreme, not extreme to bring it to old world, I guess.
Yeah, it's not old world, but
I think the pH could confuse people when they're thinking old world, but the fruit ripeness certainly new world on the attack. But
because for old world, there would be more earthiness, a bit more vegetal character, but this one has no vegetal character. No.
It's really pure fruit, like very pretty.
So I wouldn't say Germany. No, it's not. France, it's not.
There's definitely some tea leaf and some organic earth in there too.
And the home block is a specific vineyard, or
they have a number of different vineyards, and then they have the terra labels, which are the terraces that are a little bit higher up the gravel areas, but this is from a home block, which is a number of, I think, 7 or 8 different vineyard sites that they've identified.
And most important, we can find it in hip cellar, right?
In my private locker, actually.
Okay. So you're not selling? You're not selling?
Being able to find it there.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually a pretty and very reasonably priced bottle too, and that's, I mean, I like to talk about cost, value. That wine can offer sometimes. I mean, it's obviously great wine, but it doesn't come with a hefty price tag at all.
Yeah, it's a couple $100
I
retail.
think these 2 bottles, I mean, really
Hong
no more than 300 for sure.
Less than 300.
I don't want to be.
咁再提啦。呢啲酒就係叫翻 Martin Burrow Vineyard 間公司名，咁嗰個田就叫 Home Block， 咁啊2012年13.5%，咁佢都話佢係間細莊嚟嘅，係佢都叫佢自己做 artisan producer， 係啦，咁咧就佢亦都有個標誌啦 ，sustainable wine growing 啦，咁即係佢都係 organic
可持續發展係啦，好嘢呢啲咁啊，喂，如果係睇即係Pinot Noir fans 或者你飲開好多廖思玲飲到悶咧，即係值得揾一揾。你知，
因為有時你一講廖思玲我都驚㗎，我自己覺得有啲驚悶㗎。
係啊，咁啊，
呢支係有啲 character 啊。
正啦，咁啊睇下大家可唔可以揾到啦。咁我哋係咪休息會？休息會，第二節翻嚟繼續同阿 Derry 同埋阿 NT 風傾偈。